I never heard that before, so that shocked me to the core.
If you don't know, now you know. Okay.
If that's not black excellence, I don't even know what to say. Like, what it is, what it ain't, it's your girl Umbrella, and I am back with another video. Thank you guys for tuning in. It is Umbrella. It feels like I haven't recorded a video in a little while, but I'm back. In today's video, we are going to get into Marilyn Monroe's most shocking facts, okay? I haven't touched on Marilyn Monroe on this channel before because it's a lot of material. Honestly, it's a lot of movies, it's a lot of documentaries, but if you guys do want to see more videos on Marilyn Monroe, just make sure you leave me a comment below so that I know what you guys want to see from me talking about Marilyn Monroe. But right now we're going to get into Marilyn Monroe's most shocking facts based off of Enquirers Secret Files, Marilyn Shocking Scandal of Her Life and Death. So it's going to be based off of this magazine. I am going to be doing other videos based off of this magazine as well, so just make sure you stay tuned because this is going to be pretty juicy, okay? There's a lot of good things within this magazine that I'm going to talk about because it's from the National Enquirer. Like, come on, like, stop playing. It's a lot of stuff in here. I don't want to really say too much and do too much, but we're going to get into a lot of facts that I got from this magazine based off of the National Enquirer. So if you guys are ready to unlock some shocking facts about Marilyn Monroe, make sure you stay tuned. It's going down right now. Her, original name was Norma Jean. She was born, her mother was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic at a young age, maybe at the age of 5. Her mother was actually sent to a psychiatric hospital called Norwalk State Hospital. That's the psychiatric place that her mother was sent to after she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So she never knew her dad. So she then started to live with a family friend or someone that knew her mother, and things started to go haywire up until that point. She started to get molested at the young age of 9 years old. The first time she got molested, she was molested by a man that rented a room at a family's house that she was staying at. And from that point on, living with the family friend, she started to live in orphanages. And another shocking fact is that she lived with up to 9 families. So she did experience a horrible sexual trauma at a very young age, which kind of plays into her life, as her lifestyle. She was a very sexual woman, and it's probably because she put limited value on sex because it was, her sexual innocence was robbed and ripped away from her at a young age. So it kind of explains a lot of things getting into her lifestyle as she got older. She did get molested several times after that. Another time was with a cousin that was older than her named Jack, and a couple of other times was from other families that she stayed with while she was an orphan. First shocking fact, that's just a little background, okay, up until what I'm about to tell you right now. So the first shocking fact is that she had a baby when she was 11 years old. Yes, Marilyn Monroe was pregnant at 11 years old. We all know Marilyn Monroe to not have had any children in her adulthood. She actually did get pregnant a couple of times, but she miscarried. Every single time that she did get pregnant, she miscarried, or she had an abortion per the guy's request or the studio's request or whatever. You guys will know that if you watch my Hollywood control videos, that you know that a lot of women back then in the 40s and the 50s were told to have abortions so that they could keep their career strong. Yes, she had a baby boy when she was 11, and the lady that she was staying with, which was, I guess, a family friend, she told her that she couldn't keep the baby, and that she was entirely too young to have a baby, and she took the baby away from her. And Marilyn said, and I quote, "I hugged him and kissed him. I couldn't believe this was my baby." And then I can actually go to the page where she was talking about it, because she said some other things. She said, I had him in the hospital for a few days, but when it was time for me to leave, they said they'd be taking the baby. It was like I was being kicked in the head. She goes further on to say that I never saw him again. So she had him before her 12th birthday, and she never saw him again. So it's very possible that she has a son out there, or he's passed away. She got pregnant in 1937. That's something very interesting, because she got a son out there, and or she had a son, and I'm pretty sure he probably didn't know that that was his mother. So that's kind of crazy. That shocked me. Like hearing that, I never heard that before, so that shocked me to the core. I was like, damn, so she actually did have a baby. That's crazy. Okay, moving on. Shocking fact number 2 is that she got married at 16 to escape being an orphan. We all know that if you're an orphan, or if you live in foster care, that when you get to 18, then you can, you're an adult. You're considered an adult, so you can live on your own, yada, yada, yada. But back in the day, she just really was sick of, I'm sure she was horrified by a lot of the things that she was being put through at a young age. So, marriage was a way to escape being an orphan. Back in the day, you can get married at 16 or 14 or 15, depending on what state that you live in. So that's what she chose to do. She married this guy named Jim Daugherty, I think that's how you say it. And he was an aircraft worker. And they got married June 19th, 1942. Marriage lasted for 2 years, I believe. They say that they never really talked to each other. They both definitely had an understanding of what the marriage was. She needed to get out of being an orphan. Her parents, or her adopted parents that she was staying with, they couldn't afford to keep her in the house anymore. So it was like an arrangement was made so that she could get married. And the guy didn't mind, because he was an aircraft worker, so he would be gone most of the time. So he didn't mind, giving her a place to stay, and, having somebody to see him off, and, having somebody to be there as his wife or whatever. So they made that arrangement, and they got married. She said, my marriage brought me neither happiness nor pain. My husband and I hardly spoke to each other. This wasn't because we were angry. We had nothing to say. So they probably just were polar opposites, didn't really speak to each other that much. He said there was never any problems with our marriage until I wanted a family and she wanted a career. So she did ended up filing for divorce, because, she wanted her career. She wanted to make it big in Hollywood, and he didn't want that. He wanted someone that he could settle down with, and she wasn't, ready to settle down. She was very young at the time, and, it didn't make any sense. I can honestly say that. Next fact I'm going to get into is that she spent all her modeling money on her car, her rent, and acting classes. So at times she would have sex with men for meals. Now, I'm just going to break this down really quick. So in the beginning, Marilyn Monroe was not famous, well, she did become famous for her acting, but first, the thing that broke her out into the industry was her modeling. The camera loved her, as people would say. She was modeling for Blue Book Modeling Agency in 1946. So after she ended her marriage, she started modeling, and it was paying off. She was getting cover photos, and she was able to make money off of modeling. As you can see in pictures like this, she was able to make money off modeling, and she was very good. This was one of her pictures on the cover of the Family Circle magazine. So she was doing good as a model. She was making some money, but she was using the money to pay for her car, her rent, and her acting classes and her dancing classes. So she didn't really have any money left over, so she would sometimes have sex with men to eat, to get some food. She ain't had no food. I do feel like that's pretty bold. You know, that's not something that a lot of people I know would do, or even me. But I do feel like, you know, it was a different time, a different era. And, you know, she was willing to do whatever it took to make sure that she, you know, could pay for her acting and her dancing. And that just showed, you know, how ambitious she was. That she was even willing to give up her body for food, you know. And she said it herself, like, it wasn't for money, it was for food. Like, she did whatever she did with the guys, and then they promised that they will buy her breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, she did the first food photos when her contract at Columbia wasn't renewed, and she did the photos for $50. And back in the day, $50 was a lot of money. First off, like, she was the very first Playboy bunny, like, model. She was the very, very first. I think that's something that makes her famous, apart from being an actress, is that she was the very first face of Playboy. Like, the very first issue of Playboy has that nude photo of Marilyn Monroe on there. And then, you know, later on, she actually came back to Playboy and did like a cover or whatever, did like an actual photo shoot with them. But she was the very first model on Playboy. So that goes into the nude photos, because the nude photos that was on the cover of Playboy came from her photographer and Hugh Hefner. Actually, young Hugh Hefner, in the making, he actually came to the photographer that took those photos, and he paid $500 for the rights to the photos so that he could use them in his very first issue of his magazine. If it wasn't for that photo, Playboy would not be as successful as it is today. And I think that's why, leading to our next most shocking fact about Marilyn Monroe, is that Hugh Hefner actually bought a vault, like, next to where she's buried, so that he could be buried next to her, because, you know, he appreciates her for even being, like, his muse for his magazine. So that's pretty hard, you know. Like, that's pretty impressive to me. Furthermore, I'm going to say something very shocking. You all know that I did a video on Joan Crawford and her relationship, the Celebrities Take Control episode, where I did talk about Joan Crawford and her daughter and their relationship, and how she was alleged to be very abusive to her daughter, Christina. So it's said in this magazine and from Marilyn Monroe that Marilyn Monroe and Joan Crawford had a sexual relationship. So she said in her own words that her and Joan had a sexual relationship, and I'm not sure if it happened more than once. The way it sounds, or the way it seems, is that it happened only one time. And you know, Joan Crawford wanted it to continue, and Marilyn did not want it to continue at all. Monroe was very sexually explicit because of the sexually explicit trauma that she received as a young girl. I feel like it just made her, like, kind of be more out there, you know, in her sexuality than she probably would if it didn't happen to her. So I mean, to me, it's kind of interesting how, you know, something horrible like getting molested at a young age over and over again can almost, like, benefit you. You know, I'm not saying that, like, that's a good thing, but I'm saying that she wouldn't really be Marilyn Monroe if that didn't happen to her. She wouldn't be, like, as sexual or as sexually adventurous if she didn't, you know, get robbed of her innocence at a young age. Comment below if you know what I'm talking about. Marilyn said that, it says, according to Marilyn, Joan asked, would you like to come to my house with me? Marilyn said, I'd like to very much. And she said it was arranged that I should follow her car and mine. I was excited at what I thought was going to happen. We had lunch in the kitchen with Miss Crawford's 4 children and a beautiful white poodle. After lunch, Miss Crawford asked me to come upstairs to her room. While Marilyn was not forthcoming about having sex with Joan in her book, she did reveal in secret tapes made later that the two did have sex. And Joan wanted to continue the relationship, and Marilyn did not. And yeah, so apparently Joan Crawford and Marilyn Monroe had a sexual relationship. Boom! That's actually true. That is actually true. It's so shocking to me to hear that. I think sometimes we forget that we don't actually know these people in real life. They're just celebrities. They're just people that we see on TV. Sometimes we identify them with characters that they've played on TV or on movies, and we think that that's how they would be in real life because they play those characters so well. But that's not true. We don't know who these people are. These people could in fact be lesbians. These people could in fact be gays. That could be their lifestyle choice, something that they enjoy. And, you know, or they could just be bisexual and like both. You know, it's very possible either way. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Marilyn's Most Shocking Facts. Make sure that you stay tuned and you meet me in the next video. Don't be alarmed if you see this magazine, you know, encased in a lot of the videos coming up. You don't want to miss out. Make sure you comment below and subscribe. Thank you for all the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.